Good evening. Yes, I am a pharmacist. Yes, I am faculty at the College of Pharmacy. But the part that is compelling to me is that I'm a mom. And for the last year, I have been a grandmother. And it matters to me a lot. The benefit that I have of my particular children and my particular opinionated personality is that my kids have granted me permission to tell a couple of their stories, and I'm going to do that. They understand fully that we're being taped and that I've got more microphones. Honestly, I said something like, it's a good thing I did not drive a Ryder truck with fertilizer in it, because right now I am so wired up that I assume that I would be arrested. My heartfelt condolences to all the folks in Paris, but all of you who are affected by that. 9/11 just wasn't long enough ago, and it's been a rough weekend. Our oldest son is in the Air Force, and we got a message that said, "Don't worry, Mom, I'm not in Paris." That means we don't know where he is, but we know where he isn't. As part of being, As part of being faculty, I have to give you this disclosures thing. It's very much like the tiny print at the bottom of the automobile ad. In short, what it says is nobody could buy my opinion anyway, but I am a faculty member at the College of Pharmacy. I do work part-time at Walgreens. If you see me behind the counter, that means that scheduling has gone seriously wrong, or that everybody wanted that day off. And it also says to you that there are a huge number of people in my family with health licenses from the state of Nebraska. My father, my daughter, my son, my other son, my brother, my mom's brother, and so we are hyper-regulated and they get real nervous if I don't tell you all those things. If you need to contact me, here's the contact information. I will leave it up for just a minute if you want to flash a cell phone picture of it. But you can certainly call either the principal here or the skip counselor here, and they can hook you up with me. If it is an emergency, don't use this. Okay, because if there's an emergency, I am not answering that email. It's in my purse, and if I did it right, my phone is shut off. But I would be happy to come talk to your group. I would be happy to do whatever it is that you may need. And yes, ma'am, thank you for mentioning that. I am Dr. Alley from KFOR. You knew you heard my voice somewhere. And it's funny, every time I speak, somebody goes, "I know her." Well, yes, and yes, I am shorter than you thought, and no, I don't have brown hair. So now we've gotten through that. I don't know how else to get your attention, but to say, prescription drugs are now the leading cause of accidental death in the United States. Prescription drugs are now the leading cause of accidental death in the United States. Now that doesn't mean that the people took them by accident. It means they didn't intend to die when they were playing with them. And we beat out car accidents, and we beat out all of the other things that are accidental that we worry about with our kids, and I don't know that we are particularly worried about this one. The people who die, that's mostly related to opiates. Drugs like hydrocodone and oxycodone are the classics. Their nearest relative is heroin, and we are seeing a massive upswing in middle income, high income young people, that's anybody under the age of 30, and heroin, because sometimes it's cheaper to get heroin off the street than it is to get prescription drugs. Not often, but sometimes. Every one of these people died because of a misadventure with a prescription drug. Now, there may have been something else included, but every coroner for every one of those people says if the prescription drug hadn't been there, they wouldn't be dead. And that's sort of impressive to me. Those are people from all walks of life, exceptionally famous. That's why I picked them. I could have picked John Smith from Grand Island, but you wouldn't have known who he was. The one that you don't recognize, the one on the postage stamp, that's Marie Curie, the woman who helped us invent X-rays, the first woman to be the most popular physicist on the planet. And she died from misusing opiate drugs. Just we're dying today. So we don't learn the lesson particularly well. Where are they getting these drugs? Well, interestingly, they're not getting them off the internet. We blame the internet for, well, you can buy it on the internet. Well, really? They're not going to take the time to buy it on the internet, and you may intercept the mail. They're actually getting it from classmates and family members. And you thought his numbers were scary? 1 in 5 Americans, 1 in 5, 20% have used a prescription drug for a non-medical reason. I just wanted to play. That doesn't count all of you who share your prescription drugs, because it sounds like your best friend or the lady in the church choir or the guy in the card club has something that's kind of sort of like what you think you have, and you have a few extras. Okay, those people at least thought it was a medical reason. Not a particularly brilliant thought, but a thought nonetheless. These are people who intended to do nothing but play. 1 in 5. Shall I count how many people are in this room? Makes you just a little uneasy. AWARE is a fabulous organization. It is a national organization intending to help us help our kids. And we're going to see a couple of their ads coming up. But they say that more than 50% of the people who abuse prescription drugs in 2009, 2010, and remember how slow the data is, because first off we have to get the study, and then we have to get the study approved, and then we have to send the survey out to a whole bunch of people, and then we have to remind them that we sent them a survey and hope that they okay, all of those kinds of things. So the data gets a little bit old, but the reality is they got them for free. They didn't buy them in the high school parking lot. They didn't buy them on a scary street corner. They didn't have somebody approach them and say, hey, you want to... They got them for free. And prescription drugs amongst 12 and 13-year-olds is the drug of choice. Not alcohol, because it's hard to get. If you're 13, it's hard to get alcohol. It's even harder to bring it to school. You can't drive, so you don't have a vehicle to stash it in. It's particularly difficult. If you're 12 and 13, you still understand that I can tell at about 50 paces if you're using pot because I can smell it. So they're not going to play with that. That leaves them one choice. You want to know something really scary? We have videotapes of a student texting in class, hey, watch this. And the phones all ring, everybody dives in, looks at their phone, and the kid takes a tablet right there in class. I'm abusing drugs. Nobody saw me. So part of it is that I want to look real cool. Part of it is that I actually believe there's something in a bottle that's going to improve my life, which is sort of a sad mindset, but we have almost convinced them of that. 12 and 13-year-olds. 12 and 13-year-olds. And if they stick with it, they will be 4- and 5-year drug abusers as soon as they start to drive on the same street you're driving on. And I think that's a problem. They get them from friends. Now, some of them approach classmates. Here comes story number 1. This is my daughter, a couple years ago. She was a softball player, not a brilliant softball player, because as you can see, she forgot that to catch the ball, you're supposed to put up your glove, and she shattered her nose. This is her 2 days after facial reconstructive surgery. 2 days after that, she went back to school, Lincoln Southwest High School, and 3 students approached her in the cafeteria and said, hey, if you have any pain meds left, I'll buy them. Now, this is my biologic child, and this comes completely naturally. And my child said to those 3 kids, you don't know my mother. And if you knew my mother, you wouldn't have said anything like that because she can get real scary. I don't feel particularly scary, but you know what? I was actually sort of pleased that my child thought I was scary. This is my youngest son. My youngest son attended Lincoln Lutheran and obviously broke his leg playing soccer. The first day he went to school on crutches, 2 people at Lincoln Lutheran approached him and said, "Hey, if you don't use all your pain meds, I sure would like to have those." My youngest son is my biggest child, and you'll get to see a photo of all of them at the end. And when he turned around with the look, and you need to understand being a soccer goalkeeper to completely understand the look, but I mean, it even makes me breathe deeply. When he turned around with the look, both of those folks chose to leave him alone. But easily, either one or both of my children could have said, "Sure, no problem. I'll bring those on by as soon as my face is healed or my leg is healed or whatever." And I don't believe that my children were singled out. I think it happens all the time. The one that really scares me is the quantity of drug that we give your kids when they have their wisdom teeth pulled. Seriously, most of the time it doesn't hurt. It aches a little bit, slap a little ibuprofen on it and you're good to go. But you've got 40 tablets of something that is worth $20 a tablet if you actually find somebody who's willing to buy it sitting around your house. And those things make me nervous. It's incredibly tempting to make that kind of money. I think that's why people gamble.